if there's one thing to be excited about, it's the Blood of Dawnwalker, okay? This thing has me hyped. I am excited. I look at it and I'm like, yes, this will do perfectly. Hopefully, there's not going to be any CDPR red woke shenanigans, because this is by the devs who left that company because it was too woke, and, well, they made their own studio. And CDPR red is telling you, oh no, all of the devs are still here. Ignore these 5 different companies that have been formed out of our ex-developers because they don't agree with our views. Kind of good. Kind of good. Not gonna lie, kind of good. Hopefully, also, this is not gonna be an avowed situation, an absolute stupid bait and switch, because that's what happened with avowed. It was pretty sad, not gonna lie. I was hyped for avowed at first, and then it slowly started to get worse. I tried to be hopeful. I really did. I really did. Oh, but it is what it is, boys. Sometimes bad things happen. But hopefully Blood of the Dawnwalker fixes everything. I cannot wait. I am excited.
After the fairly disappointing news on one vampire front, in the form of clans that should have been part of the base game being put behind day one DLC and paywalled up to the wazoo, I think it's somewhat refreshing that we also have some positive vampire news in the form of Blood of Dawnwalker. Now, Rebel Wolves was at Gamescom. Gamescom is still ongoing, but they gave a presentation, and people who were fortunate enough, particularly insiders and major outlets, had access to basically a demo, from my understanding. And there were a few things that were revealed from this.
We already have seen the gameplay, actual, by the way, gameplay, and I mean, it looked pretty decent. A lot of things seemed a little bit damage spongy, but those are just numbers that you can adjust. Maybe you get a couple of upgrades and you bam one shot a lot of things. In a sense, I do think that we are currently missing on the market a vampire power fantasy game. We have a lot of games where you're a vampire and you do things, but no real vampire power fantasy game. I think the Masquerade 2 would fit that, but I mean, you know, Toreador's being by a paywall day one, and La Sombra. I mean, it's probably not going to be great.
Now, on top of that, Rebel Wolves indicated that they're very much willing to listen to feedback and improve on certain things. And this is best embodied in the changes they've made to the sword combat. And now there are 2 different options for the camera angle when you're playing as Cohen. One which is closer to Cohen, I think the original one, and one that is farther away, because that was requested and that was remarked upon. And it shows, again, the willingness of Rebel Wolves to listen to positive feedback and to make and implement changes. But what I found most interesting about what I regard as sort of new reveals was what was told to us by various larger content creators and major outlets regarding basically the quest we had seen a few months ago, but with some greater detail. In fact, as you can see in the gameplay here, it is revealed that this
Ooh, look at this. This looks good.
very old, wizened human being slash zombie guy is in fact Mihai, this famous saint, this legendary figure from Vale Sangora. And these are not my words, I'm simply reporting what I heard from a major outlet. But according to one large-scale content
This is actual gameplay, which is pretty good. Again, I'm hopeful. Blood of the Dawnwalker does look hype and it does look good.
creator, it was revealed, to him at least, that
Look at this. The city looks like an actual city. It's nothing like in a Witcher tech demo and they're like, oh, let's put in colorful things because I'm autistic and gay. No, 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 there's none of this.
this Saint Mihai is not just a weird zombie or some weird normal human. He is, in fact, also a Dawnwalker, meaning a half vampire. And apparently, there's some long and storied tradition and entire background to
This is traversal.
Dawnwalkers as a kind of being or entity, and you can find out more about this by embarking upon a quest. And
Man, I really wish, by the way. No, seriously, I really want a vampire horror fantasy game. Something like first, maybe third person, where you start off as kind of weak, but then you start upgrading your things, and then you literally can kill a whole village from the shadows with the snap of the fingers. I want something like that, okay? Listen, Prototype was good because it did that. It is what it is.
reforging a silver sword which formerly belonged to Mihai that is now broken. Now there's some additional information on him, sort of as to why he was locked behind a brick wall seemingly. And again, according to the same creator, he was locked away for reasons of his vampirism. Apparently it's
This is the skill tree, or at least one part of the skill tree. Look at that. Human, shared perks, vampiric powers, and active abilities. A lot of options. Pretty good. And, I mean, they're not the most interesting currently, but maybe.
reasons of his vampirism. Apparently it's implied that he chose to sort of starve himself to some degree, and when he initially wakes up, you have to fight him because he's very confused. He confuses you for somebody else. Additionally, the horrific, monstrous-looking vampire you fight in the cellar turns out to be the caretaker for the quest that you embark upon. So there are a bunch of different things that have been
Ooh, damn,
revealed,
that's
and
nice.
probably the biggest takeaway from all of this, although I was not privy to this, I'm simply reporting what I've heard
Oh,
from major outlets and other content
baby!
creators.
You see what I'm talking about? That's hype. That's hype right there, okay? This ain't fucking Concord. This ain't south of goddamn midnight. Oh yeah.
Is that there are many, many different ways to approach this game. You
This
can
is, by the way, in
ignore
the night. In the night, you're using vampire claws to attack. In the day, you're using sport.
everything and try to rescue your family at the outset, right off the bat, if that's what you're inclined to do. You can engage in deep investigation and try to figure things out. For example, discover the secret history of Dawnwalkers. Now, I don't know if there's a secret history, but it was implied according to
And by the way, yes, that's a thing you can do. It's so
this one
nice.
creator that
I don't know. I mean, the lore hopefully is good. The story hopefully is good. I mean, I don't know if a vampire game can succeed without a good story. Can the gameplay carry it? Would The Witcher be good if it didn't have a story? Okay, listen. No, because no one really talks about The Witcher being good because, oh, the combat's great. No, the combat's fucking ass. Shut up. But the story's great. The combat's okay, okay? I'm not gonna call it bad, but you know, the combat is like no one cares. But the story is what people care about. That's what made The Witcher successful.
again, Mihai is also a Dawnwalker, and there's some history behind these entities, these beings, in Vale Sangora. You can do that. You can, in fact, choose to basically do everything as a mere human during the daytime, or you can, likewise, conversely, do the same thing, but as a vampire. There are many, many different pathways, and the whole message I'm getting from this game is essentially optionality. You should have a great deal of optionality concerning how you pursue quests and really what you want to prioritize. You want to prioritize building up your vampiric abilities, your more sorcerous human abilities.
You know what I don't like about this game, though? This, okay? I still have PTSD from Avalon, okay? I still have PTSD from that, okay? Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon. No, this was not it.
Vampiric abilities, your more sorcerous human abilities, simply finding out information, rushing it, taking your Daniel time. This seems to be what this game is optimized for, and I suspect it's going to be a situation where not necessarily that no two players have the same experience, but many different players will have many different experiences because, according to the director of the studio, not making a decision, simply ignoring a choice is also a choice, and the world will
True.
move forward and
Based.
you will have to live with those consequences. Now, I understand some people are upset about the prospect of sort of
I actually like games where they give you they give you choices that need to be made, but if you take too long, they just resolve themselves, and there's nothing you can do about it. I like games where they force you to prioritize things. Now I understand that there's a lot of people who don't like that, and that's completely fine. I just personally like it. There's a lot of people who don't like missing out on choices, making these harsh decisions, but I personally like making them.
missing out on content and what have you, and I kind of get that, but I'm not one of those people. I tend to like to play games multiple times if I like them a lot, sometimes as many as 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6, depending on the game. And I'm all for this. If in fact there are things you can miss out on, then I will just do that on a separate playthrough and experience the game from a different perspective within the context of a different Cohen. I might decide to play primarily as a human in one playthrough than as a vampire. I might be more careful in one, less careful in another. These things seem to me like great options, especially if you're into replaying games, and I'm very much into that. So far, from the little that's been revealed, it's not too much. It sounds like they're making marked improvements or listening to feedback. And if the words of those who were privy to this demonstration video that they played are actually true, then there are many, many interesting secrets going on. And again, don't quote me, but according to this one guy,
One thing that at least I don't know about currently what's happening here is the dialogue options. How impactful are they gonna be, and stuff like that. That's kind of interesting.
watch Mihai, Saint Mihai, legendary saint of the Vale Sangor, is in fact a half vampire, a Dawnwalker. So maybe there's something going on with Dawnwalkers in general as entities. Who knows? Maybe they have a longer, interesting relationship to full-blooded vampires. We don't know. But I thought I'd bring this to your attention, the little bit we have learned. Because yes, it is pretty disappointing regarding Bloodlines 2. It doesn't look like a Bloodlines 2 game, but the worst of all of it is
Through Bloodlines is probably gonna be really disappointing. Anyway, that was Spill and Shield. 10 out of 10. Bye.